Okay, I'm live. Been a while since I've done this, so I'll see how it goes. Slightly late. I said it would be 5 o'clock today. We're 8 minutes past 5, so apologies for anyone that had tuned in, and I'm late for that. But we'll see how it goes. I don't generally schedule live streams, so this is an unusual case where I did. Talking to myself, so that's void. Let's wait until someone comes by. Whoever comes up with motivation, if notifications, I forget this. Top fans. What's that? Be the first on the leaderboard. I'll leave that one. Participants, moderation activity, timestamps, reactions, pop-out chat, send feedback, participants. I'm just minute. It's just showing that. So it goes. Start reading whilst I am waiting. Let's see here. Just putting some sound in to show that this is on. Read a passage from Stephen King's 11/22/63, checking the sound for myself. And I was pretty sure that Lila's father was on the school board, but I didn't say so. Said he was glowing. And there was no need to spoil that, for all the Sanfords knew we were sitting on the couch with our knees together, waiting for Dennis the Menace to finish Ned Sullivan's Riley Big Shoe to come on. Riley Big Shoe to come on. If my car was still in City's driveway at 11, their perceptions might change. It's quite a long intro. One, okay. Someone's come by, so please let me know if you're here so we can get this going. Thomas, welcome. I'm okay. It's been a little bit slow today, so I'm pleased that someone's showing up. It's been a while since I've done these things, but I'm pretty much good. I had a dental extraction last week, which is never fun, but it's starting to heal up now, so that's something. I'm going to the cinema later, so looking forward to that. Jurassic World Rebirth, so looking forward to that one. How are you, Thomas? You might see a 30-second delay. I've just put that on because sometimes when the live stream really gets going, comments flow through really fast. So it's just for a bit of um, space between them, I guess. So Thomas, you've been on these before. You know how it goes. We'll see, like, if more participants come by, and hopefully it'll get a bit of a flow. I'm good, thank you. Dentist is never fun. I had a tooth out not long ago. So what did you have an abscess, or was it also? In my case, it was a fragment of a tooth from a previous operation, and it was on the Sunday evening. I was in a lot of pain, and I was honestly going to do a DIY. I had mouthwash, I'd washed my hands and everything, but it wasn't the pain. It's just that it physically would not come, so I had to get it done properly. But yeah, it's one of those things. I do feel approaching 40. You know, I've got the front is like I've got all my teeth, but the back have a few missing now, and it's slightly disconcerting. Thomas, I think you have the number one fan there, so I don't know if that came up automatically or if it's like an automatic thing for the first person to comment. But well done anyway. I don't know if you could see that. There's a little number one and a crown next to your name. I was in the same situation as you. It was horrendous. I was putting that numbing gel on. Yeah, I don't even have that. Is that something you can buy commercially? Is it like I know there's like an aniseed thing or something you could sort of put on the gum to ease the pain a bit. But the thing is, it is only temporary. What I was using was milk actually, and also mouthwash, but they are temporary fixes to ease the pain. Unfortunately, with the way I compare dental pain is if you cut your hand, it's painful, but you could see the wound and you could do something about it. With an abscess or a rotten tooth, it's under the gum, so yeah, that's why it's so bad. Oragel, yeah. I'll keep that in mind because I have had a bit of a history of dental problems. I mean, it's okay at the moment, but the problem is when you have a tooth extracted, it leaves the other ones more vulnerable. And I have a bit of a sweet tooth. I do try to be careful, but it's definitely not something that's fun. um, I called 111 and they just booked me into this dentist. It wasn't my own dentist. I think it's the main one in Sunderland because I had 10 different dentists in the same building. But she done a good job. So strangely enough, she wouldn't let me keep the fragments. Was I just for like like I don't know, in an old pub they might have a fish hung up on the wall or something. I wanted to keep the fragments and some sort of health and safety thing. She wouldn't let me do that, but I'm just pleased that it was done. It's out of the way. Mouthwash is a godsend. I think that's a really good thing. But Oragel, I'll keep that in mind. So you mentioned it was not long ago. Was that on a weekend that you had the pain and you had to wait until the following Monday, or was it something you could get sorted out immediately? I know in some parts of the country, in more rural areas, it's quite difficult getting access to dental treatment. I've felt, I've long felt it's part of our healthcare system that's not abandoned but underfunded. There's a stereotype about the British having bad teeth, but I think the dental services are underfunded, so that's why there's always waiting lists and so on, and it's definitely not fun. Yeah, it started on the Friday and had to go to a private clinic and pay like 200 quid. Sheesh. In my case, it was only £27.40, um, which was I assumed it would be more because I thought, well, it's a full extraction. Like, what's the hidden cost? I thought, okay, it's going to be 27.40 just to see me, but I have to say that was for the whole thing, so I'm pleased about that. 200 quid because I live in rural Wales. Yeah, that's why I was just saying with rural areas, it is an advantage with living in a city. Um, but it's I guess it's downside with the city is higher crime levels. So, so do you have to go to the nearest town, or what is there any? Is there any dental practices at all in your area, or did you have to travel a distance for that? And what was it? An abscess, or was it just like a rotten cavity? She actually showed me the X-ray of what was going on, so I had a better idea of what the situation was. The hard thing for me was eating afterwards because I had to sort of eat on one side and not get stuff trapped in there as the wound was closing over. I had to resist the temptation to eat on that side. Local rotten cavity it was, but all dentists here are fully booked. Yeah, it's a difficult thing. I mean, 2 years ago, what happened was I hadn't been to my regular dentist for so long that they'd just taken me off the books. And at that time, I had a lot of pain, so I think it was also the 111 thing. But the funny thing is, when my parents came back to Sunderland, they couldn't check into it because they were fully booked. But when I done it, I think I actually registered there. So anyway, the dentist I went to this time asked who I was registered with, and I didn't even know the name. So I guess I was lucky to get that place. But it's that feeling where it's like a throbbing pain, and it ends up giving you a headache because the pain is just there, and all you want to do is rip it out. The source of the problem. So it's definitely something I can empathise with. So once you got it done, did they assume they'd done a good job? Did they go the whole way? Did they remove the tooth completely? Maybe in my case, I mean, I say mine was cheaper, but it was only a fragment of a tooth as opposed to a full extraction. No, that's fine. Have you ever heard of the Homeland Party? I haven't, but it sounds American, is it? I mean, it sounds like one of those things like sovereign citizens or the Homeland Party. It sounds American. I assume it's an independent party, or not independent, but I assume it's a new party. I mean, if it's British, I've definitely not heard of it. Don't know if you saw my video earlier, just on the general situation with British politics. I watched a good documentary last night. I ended up watching all three because it was well made, presented by Laura Kunsberg, but it was about the state of this country in 2022, our rotation of prime ministers. I see two people now, so if someone else is logged in, please let yourself be known. I know there's a 30-second delay, so I'm just giving you time to type up there. But no, I'm not familiar with the Homeland Party. One thing is the pain is gone regarding the dental thing, but it's a strange feeling at the back. Has been quite a while since I've done a live stream, so maybe people have assumed I've just stopped doing them, but no, I thought it was about time. While we're waiting for that, I got handed this the other day by Street Evangelists. And a great controversy. It looks like conspiracy type stuff, but $8.99. The market price is $8.99, and they were just handing these out in the street. It's incredible. I mean, regardless of what's in it, it's a proper book, and yeah, totally free. This one is, definitely looks like conspiracy theory territory, but it's obviously they can afford to publish this stuff out. I haven't looked at it yet. It seems like mostly conventional sort of quotes from scripture, but there's also a lot of stuff in this about, yeah, I don't know. I picked it up anyway just to be polite, but irritatingly, some teenage girls just dropped it on the ground, and it wasn't a case of like rejecting the faith or not. It's just the fact that they just littered on the ground. We've got a little chronology thing there. Yeah. Thomas, I don't know if there's. I think you were asking me about the Homeland Party. I don't know if you were typing an explanation there, so might be poor Wi-Fi or but it's just taking a while to come through. Like I say, if you come to the video, I see 3, 2, 3. If you've just come in, please do say hello so I know that you're there. Oh, trapped up. Anything? It's Thomas. Seems comment stopped working. Are you using another account? Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sure what that is. I mean, the Wi-Fi is okay on my end. I'll tell you what. I'll just type something. See what's going on here. I'll type in Canada because I've just been watching Race Around the World with my mum. Okay, that's come up. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know. It might be a Wi-Fi issue, but it seems to be okay here. So sorry, Thomas. You were saying about the Homeland Party. So it sounds American to me, but I don't know. I haven't heard of it. Can you type at the moment, or I see you're using another account there? So I think it was because I was describing the Homeland Party, and I used the word neo followed by the German ruling party in the 40s. Okay, so let's describe the Homeland Party, and I used the word neo followed by the German ruling party in the 40s. Ah, oh, okay. Um, But still, that shouldn't. I mean, I don't have any automatic settings that would censor Nazi. I'll just say it. I don't know why that would be censored. There may be some things on YouTube. I should say this is monetized. I don't know. Maybe because I've monetized this, maybe they're limiting that. I mean, if that's the case, I won't monetize the next live stream. As a creator, I want to find obviously revenue sources that I can, but maybe that's it. Maybe because it's monetized, there's certain words. Anyway, sorry about that. I'll bear that in mind for next time. But anyway, you were saying, so the Homeland Party, it's where's it from? Is it in the UK or maybe just don't mention the word I just said? I don't know though. It shouldn't do that. I certainly haven't put the settings that way, so maybe it's an automatic thing. I don't know why that's happened. So apologies. I see 4 people watching now, so please let me know if you're there. Please do contribute. You can ask me questions, challenge me, maybe something I've said in a video you want to follow up on. That's the point of these live streams, to try and interact with subscribers. Thomas, are you able to comment now, or is it Orbis? Welcome. I see you're getting the little crowns. I think that's something that's happened. Just the numeracy of when you enter the live stream, you'll get a number beside your name. How are you, Orbis? Just reposition myself. It's literally stopping me describing them. Okay, Thomas. I'm going to try something to see if this is a monetization issue. Um, let's try. I'll write something controversial. Okay. Let's see. Stalin, Hitler, Holodomor. I'm just doing this to see if it is a monetization issue. I don't know. Those words are coming up. Disclaimer to YouTube: this is not promoting any of the following. I don't know, Thomas. As you can see, those words are coming up. So I'm not sure why they would stop you from using controversial words. They're British, okay. They must be pretty small. I must admit, I've never heard of them. But what's their? Are they like a nationalist party? I imagine they would be with a name like that. I see Jeremy Corbyn and Sarah Sultana are starting a new party, but that's just going to divide the left. And as for the right, there's reform, but whether there's internal schisms going on there that could then make breakaway parties coming out of that, I don't know. Yes, they're small. They're going on about uh, immigration. I mean, what's the point? Why don't they just stick to reform? Because to me, if you have a specific issue that you're bothered about, like immigration or whatever the issue may be, the environment, it makes more sense to galvanize an existing party rather than to form a new party. So I don't see the sense of that. Like, for example, if they want to limit immigration, why don't they just support reform? Doesn't really make sense. It'll no doubt go to the same way as the SDP or the Independent Group for Change. Yeah, exactly. The leader's accused of having a swastika tattoo on his chest. Okay, they sound like a pleasant bunch. There's groups like Patriotic Alternative and so on, certain far right factions, but they're not registered as political groups. So I suppose Homeland is. Um, but the thing with these parties, I mean, Reform, I don't trust Reform and I don't particularly like Farage, but I'll give him his due. He knows how to captivate and galvanize a political party and make it at least artificially mainstream. Yeah, they're a split from Patriotic Alternative and they are registered. Okay. I mean, I certainly wouldn't give groups like that the time of day, but I if I was them, I wouldn't see the point of it. I mean, what do they think they're going to achieve if they split? Then the nationalist vote, it doesn't make sense to me. Um, but often within fringe parties, you get. I'd make this comparison in Scotland using a ecumenical comparison. The Scottish Presbyterian churches get subdivided when you get out into the islands. It's like the wee free church and the free church and the independent free church, and it gets to the point where you wonder what's the point. Um, I mean, regardless of politics, left, right, centrist, I think if someone is politically ambitious, it makes more sense to support an existing party. It's like charities. If I want to help people in developing countries, I'd probably go to Oxfam rather than a charity that I've never heard of. Um, there's always been these small far right parties. They never tend to go anywhere and remain as a fringe party or movement. I agree. I mean, that's for clarity, I do not like them at all. However, it is interesting to see them trying to be a serious party with the history of the members. Yeah, I mean, there's a history of that. We've often seen far right groups get prescribed and then they morph into something else. I mean, the BNP has long been defunct. Farage says that he has no former National Front members in Reform. Who knows? Um, but they tend to just reinvent themselves and go into. For me, what's encouraging is they're never big enough to be a serious threat. And if we compare the situation to France, I mean, the Front National is a major political force. We don't have anything like that in the UK. And I think Reform, Farage is a lot of things, but he's not stupid. He knows that having blatant racists in his party wouldn't be a good, would not go down well. So they're a little bit more assertive than that. The leader's absolutely massive, like really fat. I might look them up. I'm kind of intrigued now. The Homeland Party. Where are they based? Are they in Wales or whereabouts? Do you know where they're based? Farage should include himself then, as he was in the National Front himself when he was younger. I must admit that's news to me. I thought Farage's background was in banking. I didn't know he'd ever been a member of the National Front because he claimed that under his leadership he refused entry to any National Front members. So I must admit I hadn't known that about Farage. If it's true, it would certainly be a side of his biography that is because often we hear with far right figures, they find the light and they've reformed or they've changed their ways. But what I've learned from looking at politics is sometimes people don't really change. I mean, let me give an example. Majid Nawaz, the LBC presenter, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He was a prominent LBC presenter. He had been a former Islamist. He was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, um, and he faced terror charges in Egypt. He was never involved in any terrorist acts, but he was a young Islamist. Um, Around 10 years ago, he kind of became more mainstream. He condemned Islamism. He became a member of the Liberal Democrats. And for many people, he was a voice of common sense. He seemed like a reasonable, rational, middle ground kind of guy. Then, about 5 years ago, he started going down a rabbit hole again, and he became kind of into the whole Trumpian universe of things, not necessarily pro Donald Trump, but just I thought, what's going on with this guy? So it's almost like he went from an extreme to moderation to extreme again, and it's sad to see that happening. So I wonder how much people who get radicalized really are capable of change. I do wonder about that. It's like I've seen people who went from being really anti-Islam and really outspoken on that, like quite hard right nationalist, to getting converted and becoming quite outspoken Muslims. So it's just like from one extreme to another. There's no moderation there. Let's see, UKY, but not sure where they're based. Thoughts on Trump and Putin now? I am intending to get around a video on that. The way I see this is certainly Trump's toughened his language on Putin. It's better than nothing. I mean, it's good if the American president is finally taking a more assertive stance on that. I don't think it's for moral reasons. I don't think Trump is genuinely outraged by the fact that Putin is killing Ukrainian civilians. I think it's more a personal thing. Remember, Donald Trump had said that he would end the Ukraine war on day one, so he makes this big thing about being, he likes to see himself as the great savior of these situations. I think he's felt humiliated and let down by Putin. He used to talk to him on a first name basis, and all the insults were reserved for Zelensky. Now Trump has finally realized Putin cannot be trusted. So I think in the case, what's happened is Trump has felt personally let down. It is about his ego, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because it will further polarize Putin. So I welcome it. I welcome if America's going to take a tougher stance. But, it's taken this long for Donald Trump to realize actually Putin's a bad guy. He's not someone that can be trusted. He's not someone that should be brought back into the G8, G7, G8. Anyway, King of America, welcome. Nathan, hello. What's your understanding of this whole situation regarding American far left mayoral candidate Sohram Dani and Omar Fatah? Have you heard a lot of? I'll be honest, I know nothing about this, so I really can't comment. Omar Fatah, that's not one of the. There's a congresswoman. I think she's someone else. No, I'm sorry. I know nothing about that at all, so I really can't comment on it. Maybe you can fill us in about that. Um, which city is that for? Like mayoral candidates. So what city is it for? So Mamdani. I imagine it's one of the blue cities. Can you just give us a bit more information? Like which city is it for, and what's the circumstances? Extremism is underlying everything they do, whether left or right, two sides of one coin, you could say. Absolutely. New York City and Minneapolis, respectively. I'm surprised it's already mayoral season in New York City. I didn't think Eric Adams was in for that long. I thought he was in office for about 2 or 3 years. I suppose it is every 3 years, so it's not that long. So there are two big cities. Yeah, I mean, have they made a lot of traction? Is there much of a chance of winning? I assume they're neither Democrat or Republican, like they're independent, or what's the situation? Soron Mamdani, do you know what their background is? Yeah, I mean, one reason Trump won the second time around was this perception that the far left has taken over cities. New York City, there's been a disgraceful situation where young women have been violently assaulted, and there's just not been enough done about it. The sentencing for the thugs responsible has been pathetic. So things like that, it's hasn't helped the Democrats. But I would imagine these candidates are independent. But honestly, I haven't heard of them. I haven't followed that closely. Trump made a comment about the one in New York saying he could put him in jail. Um, the thing is, simply being far left wouldn't be enough of a reason. I mean, I've no time for the far left, but there'd still have to be a basis for that, like they'd actually broken federal law or something. I mean, Trump can't just jail people because he doesn't like their politics. There'd have to actually be a ground for doing that. But I'm not familiar with it. What's the odds Trump tries to find a way to run for a third term? I would not at all put it past him. Well, let's break it down. In 2028, Trump will be, if my maths is correct, 81, I think, or 82. So he'd be the same age as Biden was on leaving his term. And if it could happen in that time, there could be health problems. Trump still has 3.5 years to go in this term. Um, there'll be a lot of legal back and forth in the Constitution. What happened was, I forget which constitutional amendment it was, but Franklin D. Roosevelt was deemed to have been in office for too long, even though he was a popular president. 4 terms was unprecedented, so they changed the Constitution to limit it to 2 consecutive terms. Now, in the case of Trump, he had 1 term, was defeated. This is his second non-consecutive term, so it's on tested territory. Um, I wouldn't at all be surprised if Trump tries it, but I think even some of his supporters now are tired of Trump. That No King's Day protests, but I don't know. In my experience, a lot of Americans have a short memory, and the sheer cult of personality may be at force there. I do think if JD Vance takes over, he'll get Republican votes. But one thing is for sure, JD Vance does not have the personality cult that Trump does. So I think if it was a straight race between, say, Vance and Newsom, I think Newsom would just about pull it off. Although Newsom is not massively popular himself with all the things he's had to deal with in California. I notice the Democrats already lining themselves up for 2028. I think someone like Cory Booker would put his name into the hat. Let's see. Both Democratic. I think my knowledge of all of it is about as scarce as yours, it seems. But yeah, definitely would look it up and make a video about it. The thing is, there's a number of things I want to make videos on, so it's not possible to get around to everything. Um, and that tends to be a localized issue. So unless it had sort of national American implications, I don't know if I'd get around to it. But I don't know if it leads to like tensions on the ground or even violence. But I just wasn't aware that New York had its mayoral elections now. Yes, it was just talking rubbish as usual. He'll do nothing as only the courts have jurisdiction on such things. The Epstein stuff could be a massive challenge for him. Yeah, that's there's a former boxer I follow, Austin Trout. Well, I did follow the guy, but he's been pushing a lot of this stuff about Epstein lists and so on. Apparently, Trump wants it all silenced. Now Elon Musk is making threats in that regard. The thing I find quite galling about Elon Musk is he's threatening to reveal Trump and to expose Trump. Elon Musk chose to work for him. So what does that say about Elon Musk? I mean, honestly, it's like America, the soap opera. It's just one big drama. Um, and I think all of it damages American credibility to be a leader in the world. It's still the most powerful country in the world, but I honestly believe American credibility has went out the window in the last year, in so many ways. That Epstein thing is going to go on for years. I mean, Epstein himself has been dead for 6 years, but it seems that the the implications of that are reaching far and wide. I should say, guys, this won't be the longest live stream because I have booked a cinema ticket for tonight and I want to get dinner before that. So I'm going to wrap this up in about 15-20 minutes. So just to put that out there. But thanks everyone for coming by. It's always good to have a few names in the mix. My last video, if you guys get a chance to see it, it is on the longer side. But if you don't watch all of my video, check out the documentary link I posted, Laura Kuenssberg, State of Chaos. It's just about our politics between 2016 and 2022. A lot of interesting interviews there. People like Jacob Rees-Mogg, Nadine Dorris. I think they're still in denial about a lot of the problems, to be honest. But anyway, it's worth checking out. Like I say, there is a bit of a time lapse between comments appearing, so 30 seconds just to let you know. Fixed armor has a chance to retain power in the next election. That's a good question. I covered this a little bit in the last video, and also in the, we've just had 1 year of Labour's been in power for 1 year. Just, it's a very strange situation because any prime minister who has the sort of majority that Starmer has should be going through an extended honeymoon period. But I think Starmer has been slow to react to some important issues. He has opened up a public inquiry into the grooming gangs, but that was only from pressure. I think he needs to get a grasp of this two-tier care thing. I mean, I think the Labour HQ see that as just a right-wing smear, but there is something in it. People do see inconsistent justice, so they need to get on top of that. Otherwise, that sort of thing is going to hand votes to reform. But ironically, it isn't just reform on the left. Um, Starmer's government has gone further than any of the recent governments in condemning Israel, but it's not far enough for that pro-Palestinian faction within the Labour Party. So maybe they can go further and just completely cut off support to Israel. That would get criticism from the likes of the Daily Telegraph and the Tories, but I think it would be the right thing to do. And also, it would retain some of that support from the left and weaken Jeremy Corbyn's calls for a new party. But also, I've mentioned the welfare thing. People did not vote for Labour to see a cut in personal independent payments. That's not why they voted for the Labour Party. So, does Starmer have a chance to retain power in the next election? In politics, there's always a chance, but a parliamentary term, 2028 will probably be the next election, or 2029. A lot of things can happen in that time. If Reeves stabilizes the economy, if they get some popular policies through, yeah, they'll retain power. But 1 year in, they're very unpopular. And that's a strange situation for a government that has a large majority. They should be in a strong position, and one doesn't get that impression. So this could be a case, one of the only cases I could think of a party getting a landslide victory and then squandering it. I would say there's two main threats. Yes, reform, but also from the left. Um, and it's a real balancing act. It's not an easy thing, but I think too many issues. Starmer has been out of touch. I know a lot of people don't care about it, but I would be very peeved off if that mega embassy goes ahead. China wants to build a mega embassy on the site of the Royal Mint. That would be a hugely stupid decision to make, especially when the security services have been warning the government against it. So for me, that would be a deal breaker. I will not vote for Labour if they go ahead with that. I mean, I have to say, I've met my local MP a few times. He's okay. He's a decent man, but he does toe the party line a bit. But I don't know. I wouldn't be in a rush to vote for Labour if the mega embassy goes ahead. And also, I think they send out mixed messages on things like crime. Okay. Do you think the Tories are dead? At the moment, yes, I do. I'm not overly impressed by Kimmy Badenoch. I think she relies a lot on cheap shots and kind of punch and judy politics. I also wasn't impressed when, in her first dispatches as leader of the opposition, her thing was to attack Starmer and Lammy for ancient insults that they'd made about Trump. I mean, that just seemed like scraping the barrel when a lot of people have called Trump things that are actually quite accurate. Hi there, Toxic. Welcome. I don't know if you got my message earlier, but you'd raised an issue actually about some guys that make blogs or something in other countries and they're disrespectful. I did check out one of them briefly, but I've been watching some on my mum today. So if you want to raise that issue now, please do. Maybe you can introduce the rest of this to what you were discussing, and then we could talk a bit about it. But to answer your question, Thomas, yeah, the Tories are in a bad way. They're facing threats from reform. What Badenoch needs to do is her job, which is to hold the government to account, but not look too smug in doing so, because the Tories are in no position to be smug. They had historically their worst loss ever. So I still think they need to rebuild a lot of trust. Farage and his party is going to chip away a lot of Tory support. So I think for Kimmy Badenoch, that is her biggest challenge, actually, is reform. I mean, if there was a general election tomorrow, there's no way the Tories would win. I don't actually think Reform would win either, despite what people are claiming. I don't think you go from 6 MPs to winning a general election. I think Reform would do well, but I actually think their success is a little bit exaggerated. Okay, I'd love to see you make a podcast, mate. I think it'd be fantastic. Thank you for that. My only thing is, I mean, maybe I'm ignorant here, but what's the major difference between what I'm doing right now with this live stream and a podcast? I mean, surely it's more or less the same thing. I mean, would a podcast not just be me talking about a given subject and engaging with subscribers? I suppose the difference is it's more specific. Would that be the thing? Whereas a live stream is like flexible, whereas a podcast would be about a specific subject. I mean, I'm coming across as ignorant here, but I'm not entirely sure what a podcast is because I've never really done one. But I do appreciate that encouragement, and I'll certainly think about it if I could get around to it. Okay, on the subject of gun violence in America, okay, Toxic, I thought you were going to bring up the issue that you mentioned to me in the comment earlier, but that's okay. Um, remember the time I mentioned the guy who stood up furiously to Donald Trump about his own daughter, who was sadly mortally terminated? Trump had gotten the dad arrested by his own guard staff. Yeah, yeah, I do remember you mentioning that. And podcast would be more specific, audio only, so more portable, can listen to it in the car. Oh, I'm with you. So portable from the point of view of my subscribers. Well, thank you for that. It's certainly something to look into. I've never done it before. I'm not sure if I can monetize it or not, but thank you for the suggestion. It's something I'll definitely explore. You know, time permitted, because I have a few things I need to deal with in the coming weeks. But certainly something I'd look at, especially if I had an option for monetizing. And if it's audio only, it might actually be more clear because, as we all know, it's no secret, my the quality of my videos is not always 100%. If I'm being honest. Anyway, despite congratulating him and speaking out for America, what is very disappointing, Nancy Pelosi didn't go far enough against what Trump had done, as well as the legal arrest. Was this quite recently, Toxic? I hadn't seen the incident myself, but sounds very much like something Trump would do. Well, I mean, the Republican attitude to gun violence is utterly pathetic. That's no secret. Years ago. Yeah, I mean, the problem with Donald Trump is he's done so many awful things. There's such a long, long litany of Trumpisms that where do you even start? Where do you even start? I will say it seems to be have been a while since there's been a high profile mass shooting in America, like on a big scale, which is a damning indictment of the situation because it just means that there's a lot of smaller scale mass shootings. But, I was looking at the Texas floods, and the Republican attitude was there's literally nothing we could do except thoughts and prayers. Well, Elon Musk had cut funding for the environmental agency. Maybe if there'd been a better warning system for that camp, those young girls could have got out. And I know it's always seems a bit cynical to point fingers in the wake of a tragedy, but I don't know. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Musk's so-called government cutting had actually contributed to this disaster. Um, Extremely long period of time because he refused to waive his First Amendment constitutional right is under a counterfeit document. It's prepared and signed for marshals and so they can. Do I think Trump should be allowed to address Parliament? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Um, To be in point of fact, actually, only three American presidents have addressed both houses of parliament, which is Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. I believe are the only three that have addressed both houses of parliament. So it isn't even like it's not like, oh well, we don't like Trump, but because of his job he needs to do it. It isn't even like a prerequisite. I absolutely don't think we should give Trump that honor. It's something that should be shown as a matter of respect and matter of yeah, I think it would be totally the wrong message if we address Parliament. In fact, I think we should invite Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, to address Parliament as a deliberate rebuke to Trump's obnoxious threats to Canadian sovereignty. I really think that should happen. I think, frankly, Starmer lacks a bit of a backbone when it comes to Trump. I think he's far too cautious. I think we need to send out a message to Canada. You know, we've got your back. It's disgusting, quite frankly, that Trump says this in all seriousness, like you'll be better off as an American state. And for Marco Rubio to go to Ottawa and have the arrogance and cheek to say, well, we've a difference of opinion here, you know, you'll be better off under Canada, under the United States. It's astonishing. Astonishing. Imagine a Canadian Prime Minister going to DC and saying, well, you should become one of our provinces. You know, it's just the arrogance of the current administration is staggering. So, in answer to that question, not only do I think Trump shouldn't be allowed to speak, I actually think we should invite. I maybe this sounds childish on my part, but I would invite either Mark Carney or Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico to address Parliament before Trump, just to get under his skin, see how he reacts. No, but in all seriousness, I do think we need to send out a message of support to Canada rather than just vague sound bites about we believe in Canadian sovereignty. I appreciate the King isn't going to do that. And you know, the state visit's going ahead in September. There's going to be whining and dining and all the rest of it. I hope it isn't the same as Macron's state visit. I don't think Trump should get any special privileges at all. He's the American president, you know, give him a dinner, let him meet the king, show him a few golf courses. But I don't think, no, he's a convicted criminal, and I don't think he should have that honor at all. And I think Lindsay Hoyle, as Speaker, would be well within his rights to refuse it. John Bercow did the last time around, and I think he was well within his rights in doing so. Michael Cohen, by the way. Grab him taking the Otisville detention. That's how bad it's gotten. Yeah, I mean, I think the United States right now really isn't in a position to lecture about personal freedoms with some of the things that Trump's trying to do. I once mentioned the bellwether state of Ohio. You said you may make a video about it, but you didn't have a lot of time to study it extensively. I could link you a good 1 hour documentary if interested. Well, thanks for that. I think it would be something that would be relevant coming up to a presidential election or maybe midterms. At this exact moment, it might not be get a lot of traction. I don't. I mean, we're not even in the midterm year. 2026 would be the next midterms. But Ohio is an interesting state for that reason. It's also produced several presidents. Rutherford B. Hayes, William McKinley, I think one or two others. But thanks for that. I'll politely decline at the moment just because I don't think there is a number of videos I want to make, and also I think it would have to be leading up to a midterm election or presidential election. But do please remind me when we're leading up to another American election, and I might look into that. I couldn't imagine the King would actually like Trump. I know he has to stay neutral, but they're completely different. Yeah, I don't think he does at all. And I think in the case of Donald Trump, he just likes the pomp of royalty, because it gives him a bit of ego. But you know, the King has to be diplomatic. I'm not sure if it was the government or the palace that made this invitation to Trump. Certainly, the palace has to agree to it. But I honestly, genuinely think. I mean, I know Mark Carney's visited Downing Street, but I think it would be a statement of solidarity to Canada. Now, I know state visits take months and months of planning, but some sort of at least official visit. Allow Mark Carney to address Parliament. And you know, it would be diplomatic. It doesn't mean he has to take swipes at the United States, but just it would be a statement of solidarity with Canada. In fact, I know Ottawa's criticised the Starmer government for not doing more to defend Canada. It's an absolute disgrace that Trump has threatened Canadian sovereignty. And this used to be a matter of joking, like all American Canadian rivalry. They joke about hockey and stuff. But to have an American president saying, in all seriousness, you should be an American state, it's a disgrace. Okay. Also, I will need to address this is that there are other entities out there like the NSSF, National Firearm Industry. They need to be kept in a very close watch on. And they're yet another powerhouse within the United States framework. Any thoughts here? Well, I imagine there's a lot of gun organizations, and I suppose the regulation would depend on what state they're in. You have national groups like the NRA, of course, which are old organizations. They have a lot of power. My big concern about America is independent militia types in the mold of Timothy McVeigh. We've just marked 30 years since the Oklahoma City bombing. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some nut out there. The thing is, the traction might not be right now because Trump is in power again. But coming up to 2028, they might try something if they think the Democrats are going to win. I don't know. Oh, yes, Nathan, is it the public nuisance streamers you want me to bring up? Yeah, if you could please, because I am going to wrap up this live stream soon. I'm going to the cinema tonight. So if you could please address that now, just because I rather than replying in the video, which was about another subject, I thought this would be an opportunity to bring it up. So if you want to talk a bit about that, please do. Then again, what can Trump actually do to Canada if Canada says no unless he invades? And yeah, I mean, we know Trump isn't going to invade Canada. I think it's just the principle of it, to be honest. Do I have any vinyl records? I don't, but my parents do. Except they went and put some in charity shops, which kind of like, whoa, why did they do that? Some were quite valuable, but my mum was clearing up, and I guess she felt we don't listen to them enough. But I personally don't know. Right, let's see here. King of America, Ohio's also where many of America's biggest innovators were. Yeah, very true. And also, I was watching. I've been thinking a lot about the moon landing recently. Neil Armstrong was from Ohio. In fact, his hometown happened to be the same hometown as the Wright brothers. I think it's Winnetka, Ohio, something like that. Okay, toxic. I have noticed a past trend, thankfully it's long dead now, on social media platforms I click, which is the disgusting streaming site where child predators arrive on it. You will find the IRL streams are almost filled to the bottom of public nuisance streamers. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it. My local cinema changes. Sorry, Toxic. I'm just letting you type the rest while I'm reading the other comments. Yeah, my local cinema changed the format. I don't really like booking things online, but because I always wonder will they accept the QR code or not. But anyway, public nuisance streamers, though it did permeate into other platforms like YouTube to some degree. The three worst examples are ones who made me simultaneously very angry and embarrassed. One is Phidias. I did actually check him out after I looked that up again. I didn't see much of it. It just seems to be a bit of a, I don't know, like prankster, or I don't know how you would describe him. Go let you finish your comment now. Johnny Somali, is he also a YouTuber or? And his Kick streamer, I don't use Kick, but a guy with the emo hair blasting dubstep on the Japanese train. All these three pricks went to Japan. I think I remember the rest of your set in South Korea. I'll let you finish. I should say, guys, I'm going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just because I have to get dinner before I go out tonight. Went to Japan. Johnny did the exact same laundry list in South Korea, shockingly, to openly disrespect and insult the aforementioned culture they travelled to. If I can remember the rest of your comment, but I'll just let you finish that. Also making a straight up mockery of Westerners in a way. What was the bit about Westerners? What do you mean in the sense that they were making a fool of themselves so they made Westerners look bad, or Moist Critical did good coverage videos on these three clowns into. So Moist Critical was analysing their behaviour. Was he making a video about that? And I could look him up to find out, because if that's condensed, rather than looking them up individually, it might condense it a bit. I mean, I can't comment too much having not seen them, but I would say if they are trying to get cheap hits by, being disrespectful in other countries, I don't think much of that. Mocking and insulting them and do go into depth from what they did. That is abhorrent. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll check out Moist Critical if I get a chance. Moist Critical, because if he gets into the analysis of this, I might follow up on it. I'm trying to think of something I could compare it to. I've personally been embarrassed by some of the company. I've had not direct company, but for example, when I was in China, I remember one of the Western teachers was drinking so much that she was just throwing up, which I was embarrassed about. It's committing crimes for YouTube views is crazy. This is great news. Most embarrassing streamer ever. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm going to check out Moist Critical and see if I could get a sort of summary of this rather than checking them out individually. I will say this, regardless of what country it's in, I've seen pranksters mess with people in public places, like I don't know, put a pie in someone's face or pretend to be some aggressive person. I think that's disgusting because you don't know what sort of day a stranger is having. I mean, they could be returning from their parents' funeral or something. So I think public pranksters are sometimes outright criminality masquerading as a prank. These are the videos. Okay. Committing crimes for YouTube views is crazy. This is great news. Free. Most embarrassing streamer ever. Okay. I'm going to check out Moist Critical if I get a chance. But yeah, Dansu, I think you asked what my view was this on this was Moist Critical. I mean, I haven't seen them directly, so I can't go into details, but I would say if they're trying to just insult other cultures' reviews, that's pathetic. I mean, imagine someone come to the UK and I don't know, mocking something to do with our culture for cheap hits. We wouldn't take it too well. Talking of which, Meghan Markle actually made a very mocking. I hadn't seen this before, but part of her interview with one of those podcast things she done, or one of those um, documentaries she made, was mocking how low she would curtsy to the Queen, and it was just, I thought, and Harry was sitting there, and I thought, that's your grandmother you're talking about, for goodness sake. Feel the same way, Nathan. What's your thoughts on it? Well, like I said, I can't comment in detail because I haven't seen them, but I'll check out that Moist Critical if I can, and maybe I'll make a video on it. But I would just say, generally speaking, if they are mocking another culture for hits, that's pretty cheap and cynical. In one live stream in the past, I recall you showed a book. You were reading about Russia being run by mafia-like government. Do you remember the title? Because I wouldn't mind checking it out. Yes, basically it was Mafia State, and the author was Luke Harding. He's a Guardian journalist, so I think that was the one I was talking about. But I have a few. I've also got Blowing Up Russia by Alexander Litvinenko, who was the spy, who was former spy, I should say, who was poisoned in 2006, and that book is banned in Russia. But the one I showed in the video was, I don't have it handy; it's in the next room, like stuck on my bookshelf. But it's basically called Mafia State by Luke Harding, and I think it's still in circulation. It's not massively thick, so it's a readable book. And he was the Guardian's Russia correspondent for a while, so he speaks the language, he knows the culture. I should say it was written in the late 2000s, so when things were not quite as bad as they are now, but bad enough, when Medvedev was president. But anyway, to answer your question, the title was, I'll write it down, Mafia State. I forget the publisher, but the title was Mafia State by Luke Harding. Okay, guys, I'm getting hungry and I'm going to have to go because I need to eat before it's a bit of a walk to the cinema. Hopefully, the next stream at some stage, I will share my thoughts on Farron Cousins, who have no respect for him, and essentially a far left Alex Jones imitator. A far left Alex Jones imitator, that'll be interesting. Farron Cousins, I might check that name out. Toxic, you always introduce me to these colourful people, and I'm afraid I have to be honest with you, I don't always get a chance to get around to seeing them, but thank you for your contribution. There is some nuts out there, let's face it. But I to be honest, I deliberately don't spend too much time around them because I think I might. I mean, someone like Tucker Carlson, who's very prominent, I couldn't watch his videos because it would just I'd get too angry, to be quite honest. Knowing that he has got influence, knowing that he's making his wealth from being a shameless Putin puppet, just it would sicken me. So Moist Critical and Farron Cousins, I'll try and remember those names. Moist Critical, Farron Cousins. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap this up now. Thank you all for your contribution, as always. Thank you for your support. And yeah, just cheers. I appreciate it. I'm going to wrap this up. So have a good evening. And until next time, thank you. Cheers.